Ek maak example van hoe man direk kan dit vat, amen. Okay, familie, kom ons gaan na God se woord, amen. Vir die laaste paar weke gesels ons rondom die idee van taking care of our souls, amen. Dat ons weet wel genoeg how to take care of our bodies because ons kan dit sien, amen. And so we know what to do. We know also to make sure that we visit the doctor periodically so that we can kind of get an understanding of hoe lyk my gesondheid liggaamlik. Maar wat doen ons met kyk na die siel? Because the waarheid is that when we die, and we're gonna die, we just don't know when. This body goes into the earth and the worms eat it, but the soul continue on living in one of two places. What is the places? And so what do we do to take care of the soul? And we started speaking about the restless soul. The soul that just doesn't have rest. Dat die siel wat hy slaap in die aand, maar sy gedagte maal en maal op 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock is hy wakker. Sy liggaam wil slaap, maar daar's onrustigheid in hom. We spoke about it's important that we become still before God and that we wait on the Lord. And then we spoke about the heavy soul. En ek het die gewigte daar buite gehad. Die persoon wat so swaar loop in die lewe, voel asof hulle 'n donker wolk het wat hulle agtervolg. En research sê dat daar so baie mense in hierdie generasie, in feite hierdie generasie met die meeste mense wat suffer van depression. Nowhere in history were there so many people that suffer from the heavy soul. And the things that make us walk around with this heaviness is the things we've done in the past, the hurts of the past, the regrets of the past, and it's loop gebukken deur die lewe. So we talked about what we can do, that we need to rely on the Lord to help us. Die Bybel sê 'n mooi uitnodiging van die Here, kom na my toe, almal wat bemoeid en belas is. En ek sal vir julle rus gee. The last week we spoke about what? The tortured soul. Torture is wanneer die liggaam of wanneer iemand se liggaam in pyn gesit word, en daar was die imagery wat ons gebruik het, hoe die siel ervaar elke keer as ons sondig, en elke keer as ons rondloop met unconfessed sins, we torture our own souls. And we said that it's better to always confess our sins than to keep it in. Want die Here kan ons vergewe, en ons kan healing experience, en hy kan ons verlos. Amen. En vandag sluit ons hierdie reeks af met die gedagte rondom the seduced soul. Sê vir iemand naby jou, the seduced soul. Die almal sê, maar sê vir iemand naby jou, the seduced soul. Ek kyk die definition van die woord seduce. Ek moet sê my preconceived idea was, ek dink so sensual, en heilig ding. Maar hulle sê die woord beteken om iemand te verlei, om iemand weg te lok. So is hy limited aan 'n sensual aspek nie. Is om iemand te verlei of weg te lok van dit wat goed is. En die gedagte kom dat hoe maklik is dit vir ons as kinders van die Here, terwyl ons die Here moet dien met ons hele siel. Hoe maklik is dit vir ons om weggelok te word from worship of God alone. The seduced soul. Ek kry sommer die image van NTC. So 'n picture van NTC. NTC is 'n baie groen plek, is 'n baie mooi plek. Daar's klomp bome. In 'n sekere tyd van die jaar is die gras baie lank. Ek het 'n picture van vir die mense wat NTC is. Ja, is 'n mooi plek. Is 'n mooi plek. Ek weet nie hoe hulle besluit om die Bybelskool so mooi te maak. Amen. En weet ek jy moet klaar maak daar so, amen. So, die een keer is ons op pad van Chapel af, op pad terug na die huis toe, na die chalet toe, die student accommodation, en Caleb, op daai tyd was hy seker 4 of 3 of, tussen 3 of 5, ek is seker het. En hy is op pad na die chalet toe, en ek kom agterna aan, maar ek kry hom maar wat hy staan doodstil. En ek kom so naby kom sê, "There is snake." En ek gryp hom net weg van die slang af. Maar nou dink ek in die week toe voorberei, want hy het gestaan daar so. Why was he standing there? Looking at the snake? Was he fascinated by the snake? Was die slang miskien mooi vir hom gewees of was he playing around with the idea of even picking the snake up? Nee! Die ding is gevaarlik. But I think in the same way, somehow, sometimes, our souls are lured. What is lured? Wat is die woord? Engels is ons word so weggelok van God af. Die dinge wat gevaarlik is, maar die ding is so mooi. Maar is gevaarlik. So that's what we're talking about, how our souls are pulled away from worshiping the Lord and the Lord alone. The Lord alone. Idolatry. Wat is idolatry? Kan iemand my net die gedagte gee hoe die ding wat is idolatry? Afgoddienst. Wat is dit?
Anything you worship or consider higher than God, or you spend a lot of time with, that's considered an idol. Because you spend more time with that than in the Word or your relationship with God.
Okay. Thank you. Dis net 'n simple Google search. Dis nog nie so diep theological. Dis net 'n simple Google search wat jy nou kan doen. An object of extreme devotion. A false god, likeness of something, pretender, imposter, false conception. Dit is nie die Here nie. Dit is nie worthy van die aandag en die adoration wat ons gee nie. Dit is imposter. En Exodus 20 in sy eerste skrif, hele paar skrifte van môre. Exodus 20 vers 3 en 4, sorry. You shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not make yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or the earth beneath, or in the waters below. En dan Deuteronomy 4 vers 16 tot 19. Do not corrupt yourselves by making an idol in any form, whether of a man or a woman, an animal on the ground, a bird in the sky, a small animal, and the list goes on. But in a nutshell, what the Lord is saying, do not make for yourself an idol. Enige ding, enige mens, don't bow down to them. Serve the Lord your God alone. May your soul not be seduced into worshiping anything other than God. En wat is dit hoekom was dit so maklik vir die Israeliete in die Ou Testament? Why was it so easy for them to be seduced away from God? Because they always fall into idolatry. Whenever you read when they sin, it's always the sin of idolatry. There's always something else that they're adding on. It's like God is not enough. They need something else to bow down to. Because die ding van idolatry is, it's not that you putting God totally away. God is still here. You are just adding. It's almost like God is not enough. I need something else. Our souls are so easily seduced away from worshiping Yahweh alone. And I wonder why. Could it be that the reason our souls are so easily seduced is because maybe we were made for worship? We as people, our souls were made for worship. We were made for worship. Ek onthou toe die Here vir Moses na Farao toe stuur, die Here sê vir hom, Jy moet vir Farao sê, let my people go so that they can worship me in the desert. We were made for worship. Worshiping God. And when we follow our lives with other things, and when other things take up space in our lives more than God, we are busy saying, God is not enough. I need other idols to fill my life with. En dit is waar ons praat vanoggend. Dis nie 'n maklike boodskap nie, I must say. So, die gebed van môre is dat as God speaks, that we would look within and say, Lord, help me see if there are any idols in my life that I have been seduced away from giving you all your worth, all your honor. Help me see it. Ek kan amper sê, maak die oë toe en kyk net binnekant toe, because the more we look without, it's so easy to make excuses. No, that's not for me. Daai is toepaslik vir my nie. So important that we look within. Can we do that? Because I believe that these Israelites in the Old Testament, I don't think that they ever planned to worship idols or planned. They were seduced. Hulle was weggelok. Almal so skuil op toe staan en as almal so slang het op gehypnotize. Die slang is gevaarlik vir hom, but there was just something about it. En hy wil net langer staan en hy wil nader gaan. That's how we are being seduced away from God. Are you being seduced? Are you being seduced away from God? Die missionary vertel een keer experience wat hy gehad het toe in India was. Ek het 'n vrou raakgeloop wat besig was om 'n hoender te offer aan een van haar afgode. Chicken, so was sacrificing a chicken to one of the idols. En dis die eerste maal wat hy dit sien, like, hy het gehoor van dit, gelees van dit, but to see idolatry live, how she raises chickens at home. In a certain time of the year, she will sacrifice one to her gods. En die bloed en allerlei, dit was 'n bietjie veel vir die missionary om te sien en dit altyd te onthou. En hy approach die vrou. He speaks to her, just to kind of see what's going on here, explain what she's doing. And then in the conversation, we found out that this woman has been to America once. And he asks her out of curiosity, how was your experience? You know, you're from India, and this is a village where you're from here. What was your experience like? And sy gaan nou sê, wow, it was so nice geweest, die lagte en wat. Dis ek was daar geweest, maar yes, it was horrible. It was my worst experience ever. Hy sê, Baas, what do you mean? Ja, julle is so lief vir julle afgode. Julle is so baie afgode. Wat bedoel die vrou? What do you mean, vry? En sy begin, firstly, julle almal, julle dien julle magte. Julle dien julle magte. Julle is oorgewig, julle is ongesond, maar julle dien julle magte. Julle praat van kos, julle droom oor kos, elke ding is dit kos. Julle het grote geboue wat julle winkels noem, met rye kosse. En op elke hoek is daar 'n restaurant, as dit kos. Die was like, fuck. Hy kan nie verstaan dat dit is wat sy weggeneem het van haar experience in Amerika, because this was his life. But for someone else, knowing idolatry, that was idolatry. And she continues, she says, and this thing, the sports, you have the sports thing, it's idolatry. You spend so much money on it, and you build these multi-million-rand stadiums where you all go in different colors, and you support, and you scream for the ball. Meanwhile, you can't even catch the ball yourself. It's idolatry. And she continues. And then in your homes, you've got this thing you plug into the wall, and you put your chairs, all your chairs face this thing, and everything in the house revolves around this thing, and you sit around this thing for hours. It's idolatry, she says. Wow. And this guy couldn't understand. Hoe kan jy he sacrifice hoenders so she says, that's idolatry. It's time to clean up. We are ending off the series and ons het baie lieflike goeie gesels, but ultimately it comes down to this. Does your soul belong to God? Is your soul consumed by God and by God alone? Or have we given off portions of our lives to others? Psalm 24, vers wat ek gelees het, sê, who may ascend the hill of the Lord? Listen mooi, who may ascend the hill of the Lord and who may stand in his holy place? They who have clean hands and a pure heart, and this is the part I want to emphasize, they who do not lift up their soul to an idol. Die realiteit is moeilik om te sien wanneer dit idols worship. It's difficult to see it. So much easier to see it in someone else's life. Yes? It's difficult to see it in my own life. And there may be things in my life that become more important to me than God. And they are dangerous for our souls. 3 questions I want to ask you as we try to identify the idols of our soul. Say everyone now, you identify the idols of your soul. Identify the idols of your soul. You mind yours. 3 questions I want to ask you. How do you spend your time? Look at the things you spend most of your time on. That could be a clue on what has become an idol to you. Number 2, how do you spend your money? Look at your statement. Look at how you spend. What are you spending most of your money on? Number 3, what do you talk about? Whenever you're conversating with someone, wat is hy ding wat altyd deel is van die gesprekke? Why? Always comes up. See, if God is really important to us, God will always come up in our conversations. Kry jy mense wat net jy wil praat oor sport of jy wil praat oor iets anders, but they always find a way of making it about God, the goodness of God, the awesomeness of God. Dit maak nie saak waar jy dit kry nie. Jy kan dit kry nie more. They're always talking about God. It shows how much God means to you. Dis verskillend vir almal. For some it is how their house looks. They have to have the prettiest house in the street. They have to have the nicest house. For some it is their image, their physical image. How do I look? How's my skin tone? How's this? We are consumed by a lot of things wat nie belangrik is nie, and it takes devotion away from God ultimately. And for others, it's their kids. Their whole life. En ons is kan om te sê nie, my lewe revolve around my kids. It's almost as if they're worshiping their kids. Bowing down, worshiping their kids. Maar die waarheid is, if our soul doesn't wholly belong to God, wat kan ons vir ons kinders gee? And so hobbies. Some of us have hobbies that we don't miss for a thing in this world. Het maak nie saak of het reën of het sneeuw nie, but there are certain appointments that we know every week. En allemaal weet al. Vir baie mense is dit hulle online identity. Hoeveel followers ek het en hoeveel likes ek kry en as ek 'n picture gepost het, ek check elke 2 minute hoeveel responses daar is. Maar hy beteken baie vir my. Ons moet eerlike conversations hê met onsself en vra, wat sit ek voor die Here in my lewe? That's something that is personal, that each of us need to ask ourselves. For me personally, I used to care so much what other people think of me. People think I'm a good pastor, a nice pastor, a cool pastor. It used to consume me, but I was so unhappy because of it. Then I realized the only person's opinion that matters and should matter is God's.
Yes.
And I will never, ever be fulfilled by the opinions of people. But my Father in heaven, that's what matters.
If you love for the compliments, you die by the criticism.
Amen. And then I'm not saying that what people think of me doesn't matter. I'm saying what God says of me, what God thinks of me is more important. And I know I can never meet everybody's expectations. But the expectation that matters is God. But sometimes, as we versigtigly, we spend our whole lives trying to live according to other people's expectations. And when someone says something nasty about you, you can't sleep that week. It shows. What's your idol? And for someone else, it is security. And I think a lot of us have been at this place where that financial security, there's just something it does to knowing that ek het die skuld en die skuld is op datum, daar's gesonde balance in die bank en my savings is gesond. It gives a sense of security. But even then, if all my hope is in those things, I've lost it. En dan ek wil declare maak, Pastor sê nie, is verkeerd om 'n huis te hê, is verkeerd om 'n huis te wil hê, of kar of al die goed. I'm not saying that, I just want to make it clear, it is the place of honor we give for these things in our lives. So kry jou huis, kry jou kar, trek in die lokasie, trek suburbs toe, doen dit. Maar moenie toelaat dat hy goede die plek van God in die lewe neem nie. I just want to make it clear. Amen?
Amen.
So number one, we identify the idols in our lives, and once we've identified those idols, we need to do something else. But firstly, as you look at your own life, what could be an idol in your life? What do you think for you yourself as you look within? Wat kan dalk 'n afgod geword het in jou lewe? That you are seduced by, that you've been locked, weggelok, and full devotion aan die Here. Number 2, Judges chapter 6 verse 25 says this. Kan jy gooi speers daar so gooi? Dis die Here wat praat saam met Gideon. Now it came to pass that the same night that the Lord said to him, take your father's young bull, the second bull of the 7-year-old, and tear down the altar. Can I say that again? And tear down the altar. When it comes to idols, once you've identified it, you don't talk to it, you don't manage it, you tear it down. You tear it down. So it's almost a sense of anger coming through, righteous anger. Idolatry cannot be tolerated. Anything that takes the place of God, anything that takes the honor from God, the devotion from our part away, needs to be torn down. Torn down. Say everyone down you. Tear down. So moeilike ene, né? Even saying it is difficult. Because once we start to identify certain things, like, oh, really? Really? Ek kan nou die woorde wat die Here vir hierdie Bybel praat van 'n ryk jong man, ek dink is Matteus 21, Matteus 19, wat ook in Mark 10, die Mark 10 vers is so, die ryk jong man, hy baie alles, all the things that we hope for, all the things that we are striving for, he's got it. Hy's 'n ryk jong man. En die Bybel sê hierso, as jy dat weet, Jesus looked at him and loved him. And I wonder why they included that part in the verse. Mark 10:21. Jesus looked at him and loved him. Dat was soos Jesus sien hierdie jong man. Hy vra vir Jesus, wat moet ek doen om die ewige lewe te beerwe? What must I do? And with love. So Jesus can see This guy wants to live for God, he wants to serve God, but he's consumed by all these other things. It's like he's bowing down to all these other things, and die Here kyk na hom met liefde. I love that. He said to him, one thing you lack, go your way and sell what you have and give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Come, take up the cross and follow me. And the sad part is in the story, the young man wasn't able to tear down, break away. He left without doing what Jesus commanded him to do. So my question, what do you think Jesus means when he speaks like this concerning idols? What do you think, if you read that verse, what do you read into that? If you were the young man, what would you have been hearing?
Stop being so selfish. Selfish. Stop being selfish.
Do you think Jesus really meant for the young man to sell everything? Can anybody want it harder?
No, he didn't mean it. What he said, you can't judge on your own righteousness, because he was standing on his own righteousness.
So he didn't mean for him to actually say it.
Exactly.
Anyone else? Can I tell you this? You don't have to agree with me. If these things have become an idol in this young man's life, I think Jesus meant what he said. Because when it comes to idols, he tear them down. And unfortunately, in this man's case, he was unable to do it. It clearly shows that these things, his possessions, have become gods in his life. There's no space for God. As hy kom by afgode, you don't play nice with them. Soos hy slang, jy maak hom dood. Jy roei hom uit jou lewe uit. If you go through the Old Testament, everywhere the word idol worship comes up, oral is destroy, vernietig, breek het af. You don't so keep it here. So if these things were idols in his life, Jesus meant what he said. That makes us feel a bit. Whew. But it's for us to look at our own lives. This is what it's about. Die Bybel sê dat moenie vir julle skatte bymekaar maak wat aan mot en roes kan kom nie. Maar dan sê die Bybel die gedeelte, where your treasure is. Ask yourself this morning, where's your treasure? Where's your heart? Psalm 48, vers 2. Ek sluit af. Sluit af met die gedagte, rondom soul care, taking care of your soul. Ek sluit af met die gedagte, don't let your soul be seduced away from total worship to God alone. Psalm 84, vers 2. My soul longs, yes, even faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Psalm 107, vers 9. 107, verse 9. For he satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness. Psalm 42, verse 1 and 2. As the deer pants for the water, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. Listen to the language that is used here. And I ask myself, the psalmists are speaking about God. My soul longs, my soul pants, soos 'n gemsbokkie daar in die woestyn wat soek vir water, soos ek dors vir die Here. And I ask myself, when did I ever use that kind of language concerning God. I use this kind of language. As it warm is, yes, like it no Douglas for an ice cold Coke. Ek het no Douglas for a McDonald's double burger. We use this kind of language. I would give anything to have a triple story house. I would give my right foot just to sit in a Ferrari. We use this language. But we don't use it for God. And I'm saddened by it. I can see it for myself. Because somehow the things of this world have taken up so much more importance in my life, in my experience on the earth, than God Himself. These people, what was it about them with their whole hearts? The expression was so beautiful. My soul pains. Maggie, what does it do, sis? So my soul longs for God, so verlang my siel net om die Here te dien, net om reg te lewe vir die Here, net om reg te wees as die Here my nou moet kom haal, wil ek reg wees, niks anders maak saak nie. I long to have this kind of language in my expression towards God. As I close, Max Lucado, hierdie nice storie wat hy vertel van 'n vis. 'n Vis wat hulle in die water gehaal het. En hulle sit die vis op die beach. Ons like ons beach toe gaan om te gaan lê by die beach om te ten. En hy dink die vis gaan nou hou daarvan. En hy puts the fish on the beach. Ten yourself en dit is lekker. Maar die vis is nie happy nie. Die vis lyk nie happy nie. Die vis is besig om, hy wys hom, ek is nie happy nie. En hulle sê, okay, fine. Hulle sit 'n wallet daar, 'n wallet met 'n lekker stuk geld daar so langsom en 'n yskoue ietsie sit hulle daar langsom. Maar die vis is nog nie happy nie. Snaaks. Okay, hulle kry 'n nice camping chair vir die vis. Hy dier camping chairs nie, hy 199 camping. Ek praat van hy dier camping chairs. Hulle sit die vis daar op met die dik wallet, met die yskoue ietsie, nog steeds nie. Hulle vat die vis huis toe, na groot mansion toe, met 'n nice expensive car in die driveway, maar die vis is nog steeds nie happy nie. Hoekom nie? Why do you think the fish isn't happy? Because the fish wasn't meant to be on the beach on land. The fish was made for the water. Nothing in this world, people of God, can truly satisfy us than God Himself. The presence of God. Knowing that our souls belong wholly to God, nothing in this world can satisfy. And if we continue on allowing ourselves to be seduced away from God, don't allow your soul to be seduced away from God. Amen? Identify idols or potential idols, tear them down, and fill your soul with God. Don't settle for anything other than the fullness of God. Be blessed this morning. I will ask you just where you are. Just look within. Take binne toe. Jy kan nog baie examples maak, van possible idols, maar dis nie vir my om dit te doen nie. Look within. And ask yourself, are there things in my life? Are there things in my life that possibly could be taking the place of God? That are getting more honor than God? Are there things I'm spending so much time, so much of my money? Every conversation I have is the same thing. Ask the Lord this morning, are these the idols that's seducing my soul away from you? If it is, Lord, won't you play a song there for us? If it is, Lord, show me and help me to tear them down. Not to negotiate with them, not to manage them, not to put them away, but to tear them down. Just speak to the Lord this morning, just where you are. In the quietness of this moment, without anyone pointing finger to you, you talk to the Lord yourself and say, Lord, My soul belongs to you. Is there anything in my life that I've allowed to become an idol to me? Show me, Lord. Show me. Because I want to worship you. I want to live for you. I want my soul to be cared for. In Jesus' name. Just speak to me this morning. Hallelujah, we worship you. As niemand soos U die Here. Alle lof en alle eer kom U toe vanoggend, Here. U is werd om geprys te word, Here. Here, wys ons vanmôre, wys ons, Here. Here, U is nie bang vir ons nie, Here. U is nie bang vir ons nie. U kan eerlik wees met ons. Wys ons uit nou, Here. Wys ons uit. Wat is daai dinge wat ons toelaat om afgode te word in ons lewens? Dis mooi dinge, dis goeie dinge op hulle eie, but Lord, our devotion is too much. Too much. Help ons, Here Jesus, om vir U te lewe. Help ons om te reevaluate how much time am I spending, how much of my money I'm spending, Lord. Help us put You in the place of honor in our lives. In Jesus' name. Asseblief.
It's you that we adore.
Asseblief.
It's you that we love.
As the worship team comes to the front.